All the attitudes can be telescoped into only two, Dvesha and Harsha. Dvesha means hatred, Harsha means delight, rejoicing. Do not undergo either. Let the senses interact with the sensory objects in any manner that they like. You remain, hold the reins of the mind, and never allow the mind to swing to either hatred or delight. Keep the two away, sublimate them. Uniformize them, make them even. And what is the thought process you will adopt for it? Vishnor Mayamidam Pashyan. The entire creation is an illusory display of Mahavishnu. What? Illusory display. When a cat catches hold of a rat, actually the cat is not a sinner and the rat is not killed also. It is the unkillable truth that is revealed in the whole process. If there was anything like killing and it was true, do you know what should have been the consequence of so many rats being preyed upon by cats? The entire thing is a Maya, illusory display. It only seems to be so. In reality, it is not so. It is like the mind committing a murder in dream. It is like the mind producing hunger and appeasement in dream. It is like the mind producing hunger and thirst and their appeasement in dream. In dream, if somebody is murdered, do you think it's a fact? No. Here also it's not a fact. It is an illusory display. Vishnoho Mayamidam Pashyan. Let anything take place in this world. Look at it as a Maya, as an illusory production of Mahavishnu. And if you can keep the mind saved from Dvesha and Harsha. That is really the blissful state of the mind, where the alternates of Dvesha and Harsha are not there. Savai Bhagavatottamaha. That person is really the Uttama Bhagavata, the superb, the exalted devotee. So who is the exalted devotee? Whose mind is even, harmonious, uniform. Whose mind does not swing and swerve. And what helps him to do so? To keep the mind like that? He regards everything as an illusory creation or display of Mahavishnu. So he doesn't bother about it. There is nobody who really becomes rich and there is none who really becomes poor. Both of them are not there. It is all something transcendental that is present everywhere. Savai Bhagavato Tamaha. Grihitva bhindriyairarthan yonadveshti nahrishyati Vishnor Mayamidam Pashyan Savai Bhagavato Tamaha. Shall I go a step further? Are you ready for it? My dear viewers, you know your Swamiji delights in these things. It's so wonderful, so great. I feel almost possessed when I discuss these things. I am discussing about the songs, the poetic compositions made by your forefathers millennia earlier. So many problems still continue in this world. So what should have been an extent of problems then? But they were able to remain afloat on everything. They had found the clue and the key for transcendence. And the entire key was so accessible and close to them. It was in their own mind. It was in their own intelligence. This is also from Yoga Vasishtha. There is something called the Siddha Gita. The Siddha Gita is one which Janaka happened to hear when he went to the forest for a hunting expedition. Suddenly his attention was drawn. He was hearing something like a celestial song coming from the skies. he focused his ears. What? Went away from all his retinue. He almost disappeared into the grove because the song was so alluring, so fascinating, so enlightening. So he wanted to hear. Then he found a set of siddhas were going, singing these songs in chorus and severally also. Drashtru drishya samayogad pratyaya ananda nishchaya yastam swam atma tattvotham nispandam samubhasmahe. I am wondering whether all of you, my viewers, will really be with me when I say this. Our country is predominantly devotional, and all the devotees are given to worship. There are tens of thousands of temples in our land, and all are worshippers. They are doing upasana. These siddhas who are traveling in the forest, they also say, we also do upasana. And there is nothing before them. They only have a water pot and perhaps a little staff, that's all. No flowers, no idols, nothing, no paraphernalia. Their worship, their upasana is born of their own inner personality. See what they say. Drashtru drishya samayogat pratyaya ananda nishchayaha yastam swam atma tattvotham nispandam samubhasmahe. Wow, wonderful, wonderful. They are saying all the experiences that we have, all the enjoyments we have, call it ecstasy, call it delight, call it exaltation, whatever it may be, everything is born of your own inside. You don't experience anything here. You don't experience anything here. You experience everything inwardly. It is not anywhere in the bodily part. It is beyond matter, beyond energy. It is in the consciousness level. It transcends matter and energy. How does it happen? Drashtru drishya samayoga. There is a conjunction, there is a coupling of what? Two factors. Drashta, the seer. Drishya, the seen or the visible. And there is a union or a conjunction between the two. I see a beautiful object. Who calls it beautiful? I call it. When did I call it beautiful? After I had an experience of it. Where was this experience? Is it outside or inside? Inside. So inside I found some experience and it was joyous. On the basis of the joyous experience, I call it a beautiful sight. Now what happened? There is a merger or a conjunction between me, the drashta, and the object, the drishya. When there is a subject-object union, it is from that union pratyayananda nishchaya. The experience in the form of joy arises. So every joy or every joyful experience is an outcome of the pratyaya that takes place in my mind. Pratyaya means what? Either a thought or an imagination or anything similar to that. So there cannot be an experience at all. In sleep, nobody says, I had an experience except sleep. Was there any object vision there? No. Was there any particular joy as you are having in the waking? No. Was there any sorrow? No. Because there was no object. So unless there are objects, and then there witness the drashta, the subject, and there is a union between the two, a conjunction between the two, there cannot be any ananda, joy or delight. So all forms of delight, mark what I say, all forms of delight, grades of delight, kinds of delight, everything, tam atma tattvotham. Everything arises from me, from the principle called Atma. Atma, the self, is not an entity like any other object that you can think of. It is not present in space. It is not like any object that you see in the sky. It is a spaceless, placeless presence. It cannot be compared. It is a principle. It is a tattva which our buddhi can comprehend. The same inside gives rise to a variety of experience. Sometimes we are miserable. The same we are delightful. The same we are jealous. The same we are intolerant. The same we are fearful. The same we are hateful. However different experiences we or I give rise to. Just see. So all these experiences are Atma Tattvotham. Atma Tattvotham. It emerges. It is engendered by the self. Whose self? By our own self. Everything arises from our within, our inside. And that inside, Nispandam, it has no change at all. What it was in my young age, the same is there when I become old also. Has it ever exited from me? No. Has it ever acted there? No. Action is possible only when there is a room for activity. Suppose you fill a bottle full of water without any air bubble, seal it properly. You go on shaking the bottle. Will the water shake? No. The consciousness within our body, even space is full in all the four elements. Then what about the consciousness? It is much fuller if at all. That consciousness, can it move? No. Can it vibrate? No, no, no. But nevertheless it produces all the variety of experiences. That Atma, how great it is, how glorious it is, how resourceful it is, how magnificent it is. We imagine, contemplate upon, think about and get lost in the wonder of it. Samupasmahe. I don't know whether I have been able to explain it properly to you or you have understood it. Normally you sit in front of an idol or you look at a picture and your upasana is of that picture. That picture. Here the upasana is different. They think about the source of all experiences. Suddenly, our consciousness assumes the position of a drashta. Then it also produces a drishya. Then there is a connection between the two, darshana. And that darshana gives rise to an experience. How many factors? And every time it becomes so. And becoming so, has anything happened to the self, consciousness? Nothing. Drashta-drishya samayogat pratyayananda nishchayaha yastam swam atma tattvotham nispandam samupasmahe. Drashta-darshana drishyani tyaktva vasanaya saha darshana prathamabhasam atmanam samupasmahe. How shall I explain it to you now? I shall try. But my English viewers never speak to me. The other day from Orissa, a doctor telephoned me. And during the conversation she was reciting a number of Bhagavata verses. She says that I was introduced to Bhagavatam from a young age and started chanting quite a few verses. She was so exhilarated. And during the course of the talk she said, Swamiji, I never expected to talk to you. I thought that you are a celestial person. The manner in which you deliver your lectures, you appear before us in the screen, it gives the impression that you are nowhere in the world and nobody can come near you. You are a celestial person, we thought. I never thought that you would talk to me or I would be able to talk to you. It's something very great. I am going to call everybody known to me and then say, you can speak to Swamiji, he is available on the telephone. Yes, you can speak. Maybe I must have the time to speak to you. Generally people call and I do speak. You may fail once or twice, I shall speak when necessary. But you can always write to me. Any letters that come here, I reply. The letters may be short, it may be big also. I write 1-page letter, 2-page letter, sometimes 3-page also, even more. So all of you are free to contact me. Not only that, I would like to have as many of you on our rolls. If you give me your addresses, I will write on Srimad Bhagavatam. I will tell you about this telecast itself. Telecast itself, I shall tell you. What is this telecast? What have you heard? What you are going to hear if we are able to continue? But I am doubtful whether I shall be able to continue this telecast, because it's financially a great load, and our viewers are not participating in this, saying that it is our creation, it is our purpose, we are also participating in it. No, it's very, very poor response. But it's not going to be easy. So generally I parallelly conduct another series in Malayalam. There are so many letters come to us. Every letter I have replied. And I reply very good letters, 2-3 pages. For the whole lifetime they cherish it as a piece of reading. I will write on maybe Srimad Bhagavata itself. What did Krishna say? How the whole talk began and where is the emphasis? How does it relate to you, etc. It will be a very nice presentation. Now, in this case, drashtu darshana drishyani tyaktva vasanaya saha darshana prathamabhasam atmanam samupasmahe. You know, this is a shortcut to the Atma. What is the shortcut? Drashtu darshana drishyani tyaktva vasanaya saha. Listen to me carefully, carefully. As I always say, borrow ears and listen to me. If all the experiences that we have, no matter whether it is about the objects or not, it's always because of a conjunction between the drashta and the drishya. Where is the drashta? Inside us. The witness, the seer or the observer. Now, the drishya is forming an imprint in the mind. I see many objects. Those objects remain in their own respective places. Nothing comes inside my body. My mind forms an imprint with the help of the eyes, imprint of the objects. And whenever I see them or unite myself with them, it is these imprints of the mind that the mind is conjunct with. From this, what do you understand? All experiences are inward, and they are a variety produced by the drashta. The drashta is the sole factor here. The drashta produces a number of drishyas, a number of darshanas. If drashta alone is the sole content in all the darshanas and all the drishyas, meaning in all the perceptions and all the visibles, then is there any second substance there? No. All the joy arises from my own within, and there is no external contributory cause there. If this is the truth, why am I fascinated by darshana and drishya? No drishya is outside. No darshana is also outside. All darshanas and drishyas are produced by my drashta, the drashta in me. Therefore, I renounce from today onwards all the desires for all kinds of objects and their unions. Are you able to follow the reasoning? This is spiritual and philosophical reasoning. If experience is inward and the experience causer is my own mind, my own consciousness, and the consciousness itself is causing the imprint of an object, and with that imprint the consciousness itself is uniting. So what is the factor other than consciousness there? The object is in the form of a conscious imprint, and the union also is a process of conscious process. So apart from consciousness there is nothing there. So why should I have a desire for any drishya or any darshana? Desires are all for these things, the visibles in the world and the experiences they give. All of them are inhering in me and me alone, the drashta. Therefore, Drishtr Darshana Drishyani. I am going to abandon the threefold differences like Drashta, Darshana and Drishya, along with all the desires that spring from them. Then what shall I do? Darshana Prathamabhasam. Come along with me when I say this. When I am having a darshana, a drishya is necessary for it. Are you not following the Sanskrit words? Darshana means perception. Drishya means what is perceived, the visible. So, Drashtr, Darshana, Drishyani. There are three items here. When you think, the consciousness in you becomes the thinker. And after becoming a thinker, it gives rise to thinking. And as a result of thinking, the thought, the outcome is produced. So the drashta, before it became a drashta, what was it? A non-drashta. Then it became a drashta. Then it gave rise to darshana. And then a drishya was grasped. So I am going to abandon the threefold differentiation called Tripudi, along with all the desires that they are generating. Then Darshana Prathama Abhasam. Before the Drishtr, Darshana, Drishya, triple arose. What was there? That primordial, original presence. That is the Atma. That is the Self. That Atma Samupasmahe. We are doing upasana of that Atma. Using their mind, using their intelligence, using the experiences that they have, understanding that there is a constant threefold differentiation taking place within themselves, they are transcending the three in their imagination and lodging themselves in that primordial, original, singular source. This is all in the way of contemplation, inner truthful introspection. Atmanam samupasmahe. Drashtra darshana drishyani tektva vasanaya saha darshana prathama bhasam atmanam samupasmahe. You know the young boy, the Prince Sri Rama, he is told, on the one hand I am discussing the superb spiritual philosophy, the wisdom. I excel in this discussion. I like it so much. Samvedya varjidamanuttama megamadyam samvidpadam vigalanam kalayan mahatman hridyeva tishtha kalanarehida kriyam tu kurvan agartripadametya shamodida shri. This discussion is one thing. Now after the discussion, when you understand the message, how are you going to live in this world? Rama was after all young, 16 years old. He had to sit on the throne, rule the kingdom after his father for quite a number of years. In the name of disgust, dispassion or otherwise, nobody can abandon the throne. To abandon the throne means to allow anarchy to prevail in the society. That should not be done. Now it is a democratic rule. Can we ever have a time when no public administration is there? What is our present complaint? Our administration is not efficient. In many places it is corrupt. The public distribution system is not effective, failing everywhere. Whatever goods are manufactured, whatever goods are grown in our country, they are not properly distributed. An item that really costs 9 rupees is being sold at 18, 20, 23 rupees. And the whole margin, excess margin, more than even the cost of production, it is consumed by some. It is possessed by some. So the people who have money are few, and the people who do not have are many. This difference we are not able to bring down. What is the reason? Let everything be distributed properly, having a reasonable percentage of profit to sustain the industry or trade or commerce, and let all people have an equal distribution or somewhat equal, then you will find the country is much better. We will have a totally different class of citizens in India. So public administration is very important. In those days it was a monarchical system. So a person like Rama, who was otherwise so good, virtuous, moral, ethical, suddenly because of a dispassion or a disgust, that bit him hard. He cannot afford to be indifferent. While Vasishtha was speaking to him, giving him a lot of spiritual wisdom to set right his mind, to relieve his distress, everything is all right. But Vasishtha never has any agreement in the matter of Rama becoming suddenly a recluse. No, certainly not. You should sit on the throne, rule the country, ensure the welfare of the people. At the same time, you must have your spiritual fulfillment, loftiness, greatness, and that brilliance. It is possible. Mind is the key for it. Let your mind behave in a pure manner. Let the purity come to the mind and the resultant expansion also, and live an elevated life, edifying life, fulfilling life, and be very enchanting in whatever you do.